And we can do, a studio area for this.
For podcasting. And we can have other people pay to come use our studio to do their podcast too.
Good idea. Yep. We're going to be so rich and famous.
So rich. Yeah. So famous.
We just got
to make it happen.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Balance for Life podcast. We are here to tell you all the things you need to know in order to know what you need to know and be happy. Yeah. Jinx. Basically, we want to share ideas and tips to succeeding at what you want to get good at, what you want to, improve at, etc.
Etc.
Oh, yeah. It's your turn to talk now.
I know. Just kidding. If you like what you hear, like always, we ask, like these videos, like these podcasts, like our social media stuff, share us with your friends, let people know, leave us reviews. Obviously, any of the podcast platforms that you listen to us on, you can leave reviews, so we appreciate those. And join us on the social medias. We're on pretty much all of them, and we've actually been pretty active the last couple of weeks. I'm proud of myself. Up top.
Hey, we didn't need to clap at the beginning of the episode. We got that.
Oh, that's true.
We should do that for every episode.
High five. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all at Balance for Life Podcast, and on Twitter at Adam and Perry, all spelled out. And you can also follow us, watch us on YouTube. We do have videos. Perry's growing his beard back. I think maybe my comments on TikTok
I haven't shaved for 3 days.
Yeah, my TikTok comment got him to grow it back. So there you go. You can affect people with your social media comments.
But I second the YouTube thing because there's stuff like us giving a high five, or if you're just listening, you're like, one of them clapped, and now they're laughing about it. But if you see it, then you can tell that we actually gave each other a high five and then made a joke about it. And last week, I think it was last time or the time before maybe, there was a cat scratching my couch, and I threw a DVD case at the cat to scare him away and stop scratching my basement couch.
Yeah, you can see all the fun shenanigans instead of just hearing about them.
Yep, exactly. But anyway, I can't remember if you said this already. Just search Balance 4 Life on YouTube, and you'll find us. And mainly we've just posted the full episodes there, but we are starting to do short videos, so we'll post some shorts on there as well. So today's episode.
Yeah.
Now it's funny because last time we did a Valentine's Day episode, then we realized it was going to come out over a week before Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do a second Valentine's Day episode. So
part 2 is going to be first, and part 1 is going to be second, right?
I
think the one we recorded first is going to come out second, and the one we recorded second is going to
maybe. I thought we decided the other way around. It doesn't really matter.
Either way.
We're gonna have one that we've already recorded that's not out right now. Is at the time that we're recording this. It might be by the time you're listening to it.
Yeah.
About why going out on dates is important, and date ideas. And this one is about love at first sight and whether it's real or bogus.
Ooh.
So. First we're just going to give our initial short replies.
Yeah. And if you guys have your own thoughts and ideas, feel free to leave comments. This would be a good video to comment on. To comment on. So please let us know what you think.
Okay, my short answer is it's bogus.
Okay.
What's your short answer?
Oh, we're just doing one word. Just
one word, and then we're going to expound.
Okay.
We both are giving our one word.
Well, then I have to think of one word that sums up what I'm thinking.
It can be 5 words.
Okay. So.
No more.
So. Yes and no. My simple answer.
Both.
My simple answer.
Both is one word.
Yeah. My simple answer is it's complicated.
Oh, there we go. It's complicated.
It's complicated.
Man, I just watched a movie or a show where that was how they kept describing the relationships. I'm trying to remember what it was. Anyway, it's like on the tip of my brain. It was like, it was Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, okay.
Where, no, it wasn't.
Have I seen that one? I don't know if I've seen that one.
It was Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man 2, maybe. I can't remember. Anyway, I think it had something to do with Spider-Man. It was complicated because, like in Spider-Man 3, it was No Way Home. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so it's complicated. Yes. Okay. Cool. So now I'm going to expound. My reason for saying it's bogus is I think that there's a difference between love and infatuation, or the idea of loving somebody that you don't know. And I think, like, look, I get that Romeo and Juliet is a classic Shakespeare story, but, like, if there's not a pitch meeting on that, like Shakespeare's version of it, you know, the play, there needs to be. So George, what's his name? George Ryan, I think is the guy that does or Ryan George, I can't remember. Oh. The guy that does the pitch meeting movies, you're hilarious. Totally. And you should do a pitch meeting on Romeo and Juliet if you haven't already. Because if you think about it, it's like a 15 and a 16-year-old meet and suddenly they both love each other. They're in love. They're going to spend the rest of their lives together. So much to the point that they commit suicide because of it. Like, it's just the whole premise of that story just boggles my mind.
Oh, absolutely.
And, okay, so the other thing I've realized is that the level of attractiveness that you feel for someone can evolve by getting to know them without their looks changing. Mm-hmm. And so let me expound a little bit on that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I noticed in high school there would be like a girl that I thought was maybe not beautiful, like a little bit attractive, but just, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't describe her as hot. Right. Are the words that we used in high school, right? But then as I got to know her better, I became more attracted to her. And then I also experienced the opposite, where I was like, oh my gosh, she's the most attractive girl in high school or whatever.
She's a fox.
She's a fox, yeah.
Foxy lady. Was that word when you were in high school too?
My dad used it. Oh, okay. I don't remember. You're way older than me. I'm just kidding.
So much older.
We were in high school at the same time, so.
Yeah, we really were.
But, I would, you know, the most attractive girl in high school, I'd get to know her and be like, she's not as attractive anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think there's definitely attraction at first sight, right? And I think attraction is a really important part of romantic love. Mm-hmm. I think you need to be attracted to the person that you're in love with, at least a little bit. And as you get to know them, that attraction can grow. But I think that love is more than just attraction. And so there needs to be a certain amount of getting to know somebody before you can really say that you're in love.
Okay.
That's my expounded answer.
That's fair. And I
rebuttal time.
No, I actually agree with everything that you said.
Okay.
And I love your sorry. But your correlation to Romeo and Juliet, because I think it's I can't remember where I heard it, but somebody was talking about specifically that it's like, oh, it's this historically beautiful and such a commonly known idea of perfect love.
Right.
Right. And when you really think about it,
it's a hot mess.
It really is. Like it's two teenagers that have known each other for 3 days that commit suicide.
Yeah.
Because they can't be together.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, okay? When you were 15, 16 years old, every girl that you met was the one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's basically what teenage life is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a girlfriend when I was from 15 to 16. I hope she never watches this. No negative feelings now, but looking back on it, like we were not ready for that.
Okay.
And yeah.
Oh yeah. Same thing. So I had a girlfriend all through high school, and I hope she never watches this too. But I doubt she would. But yeah, it was kind of that same thing where like, oh, we've talked about being married. Like we talked about
we were planning on getting married.
Yeah, we planned on that, and now here I am. So I'm going to be 21 years out of high school this year, and I look back and I'm like, thank every power involved that did not happen.
Yeah,
because it just like teenage hormones are not the reason to get married.
Right.
So, no, I agree with everything that you said. And so to expound, I guess, on mine, it's complicated because, and here's where I guess my idea of it has evolved over the last couple of years is my take on what love is. And so I think love is so much bigger than what we consider just like romantic love. Mm-hmm. And so I reference The Secret a lot, and it like, because that's the book that basically changed my life. And even though I don't necessarily agree with everything about it, there are some things that I think need to be changed, but it started this process for me. And one of the things that she talks about, and I think I actually put this in a different episode or in a social media post or something, talking about love. And love is the most powerful force in the universe. And it can legitimately change your universe. It can change your perspective on what's going on around you. And so I guess to me, that concept of love, like, can I love somebody as another human being? Can I love somebody as a child of God? Can I love somebody as the same energy force, right? Can I love somebody? Absolutely, without even meeting them. I can see people, and I think we do this a lot when we see, say, I don't want to necessarily say panhandlers, but we see people out, and you can tell that they're kind of down. You can tell that things are kind of going wrong for them, and that their life's out of place. And so I think in that moment, I've never met this person, I've never spoken to this person, but I can have a feeling of love for them. I think as far as romantic love goes, like you said, I think that there's a difference between love and infatuation. And I think you can be attracted to somebody, and I think you can love them as a person, but that romantic love, the way that the world views that romantic love, I think is, I always liked the saying that love is a verb.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
action.
And so to me, love, like in my marriage, love to me is the time that we've spent together. It's the memories that we've made. It's the habits that we've formed that bring us closer together. It's the nights after we put the kids to bed where we can just sit down and talk about our day and eat junk food and drink soda and watch a movie and be closer.
Right.
And so to me, that's, so can you have that at first sight? No.
Right.
But it has to start somewhere.
Right. Okay. So, I think we're on the same page. Yeah. So I think both of us would say romantic love at first sight is bogus.
Yes.
Like love for somebody as another human being, right? Definitely. That's definitely real, and that's something that we should all strive to have. And I think that's, to me, that's the key to a lot of problems that exist in our world, right?
Absolutely.
Like judging somebody because of their sexual orientation, or because of their political views, or how they view sexual orientation. Like I see this on both sides of it, so I'm not attacking conservatives or liberals, right? I see it on both sides. I think there's often a lack of love that contributes to our divisiveness in our country. And so I think a lot of the problems that exist in our world would be solved by loving everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I guess that's kind of the idea there is our culture has taught us that if you disagree with, like, that love and agreement are one and the same.
Yeah.
And that if you disagree with somebody, it means that you don't love them or you don't respect their opinions or something like that. But
when in reality, you can disagree with someone in a respectful way and you can learn from each other, you know, but we just don't do that.
Yeah. But I think that's exactly like one of our previous episodes. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but talking about being open-minded, where you can disagree with somebody, but when you listen to their opinions and you respect their beliefs, that's how that love can grow and be shown to them. And that's how we grow as people and how we learn. And I think that's what we should all strive for.
Definitely. So now what we are going to do is Adam and I are each going to share a romantic tribute to our wife. I'll go first.
Okay.
Basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of back up the premise a little bit more with, an example about me and my wife. So, when my wife and I met, I could tell immediately that she was interested in me, and I was already interested in someone else. So, long story short, like, we were hanging out a lot. I could tell she liked me, and the longer that went on, I felt like I was leading her on. So I felt like I needed to tell her that I wasn't interested in dating her. So I did, and I broke her heart. And then what's funny is, when that happened, I let my guard down, and I let myself be myself around her. Yeah. And I enjoyed hanging out with her, right? And I was physically attracted to her, like, from the moment we met. Mm-hmm. And in retrospect, that's actually part of the reason why I wasn't interested in her. Like, I was already interested in someone else, but my experience with really attractive women was usually that they were really shallow, right? It's definitely not always the case, but that was my experience as a 21-year-old. And so my initial thought was like, she's not the type of person I want to be with. I can already tell because she's too attractive to be, like, real, you know? And so after I told her that I only wanted to be friends, I started to develop feelings for her. I was like, this is weird. Okay, I'm starting to actually like her. Yeah. But it was because we had been friends for a while, and I also felt like I could be myself around her, that I started to really get to know her, and she started to really get to know me. Mm-hmm. So here's the romantic story part. After a while, I decided I actually was interested in her and not the other girl anymore. And the other girl's, like, she's awesome, and she actually ended up marrying one of my friends. Oh. And hopefully she doesn't have any ill feelings towards me. I have no idea.
That's not awkward at all.
But I don't have any towards her, for sure. I realized, I mean, we had gone on a couple dates. There was, there's like no level of commitment at that point. It was just interest on my part. I don't even think there was on hers, so she's probably not. Anyway, I'm rambling. The point is,
it's what we do.
Yeah, it's what we do. That's why we started a podcast.
Exactly.
So I started to like Rachel in a romantic way. Okay. And I decided, I was picking her up from the airport in Sacramento, so it was like a 2-hour drive. Mm-hmm. And she had gone back to, like, where she spent most of her elementary school time to visit an old friend. And I picked her up on the way back, and we spent the whole day together. Did a bunch of different things. I had dinner with her and her parents and her aunt and uncle who were visiting, and then we went to Barnes & Noble for the Harry Potter 7 book release party. And so that gives you an idea of when how long ago this was.
That was a hot minute.
Yeah. About 16 years ago. So then I took her to my house, and my plan was to lie down on the front lawn and stargaze with her. And what's funny is it was cloudy in the middle of summer in Redding, California, which is, like, pretty rare. I mean, it's California. It's Northern California, but it's still, like, it's hot in the summer.
Yeah.
And I want to say it wasn't cloudy all day, and then it, like, got cloudy in the evening. And so we put a blanket down on the lawn. We're just lying down talking for like an hour. And it's cloudy, and we're like, my plan was ruined because of the clouds, right? So then I was like, well, it doesn't matter. And I decided I was going to hold her hand. And so I'm like trying to work up the courage. I hold her hand and she like stops talking and it becomes totally silent for like a couple of minutes. And we're just holding hands and the clouds all start going away.
Aww.
And within like, I don't know, 5 minutes, it was completely clear. I'm talking about like, went from completely cloudy to completely clear within 5 minutes. And I was like, if that is not a sign that this is meant to be, I don't know what is. Okay. But here's the thing. I already knew each other. We already knew each other. I already knew her.
Yeah.
For like about 2 months. And we spent a lot of time together before that point. So I think at that point, like, I loved her in a romantic way. You know, it still took us a while to like say it and kiss and all those things. But to me, that was the point where I was like, okay, this is real. Like, this is, you know, this is what we have is the beginning of something real.
Cool story. I was making sure that I'm still recording.
Yeah.
Because last time it apparently didn't. So.
Yeah, we had to use the
crappy audio.
Camera audio. Sorry about that, people.
No, that's a cool story actually.
Yeah.
I can hear people from YouTube going, "Aww."
Yep.
Okay, so I guess now it's my turn. So honestly, Perry went first so that he could try and set the bar really high, and then I would just fall short no matter what I said.
Beat that, man.
Love totally is a competition. Okay, so when Emily and I met, I could tell that she was totally into me. Like, she was ready to get married right away. And I really hope she doesn't watch this. I'm just kidding. No, she has actually told everybody that we've ever met, and like, she'll stand up and when she introduces us in church or whatever, and she will tell everybody that from the moment that we met, she did not like me at all. And so here is kind of a little background on that. So we met at Snow College, and I was a year out of high school. And so I graduated high school. I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. I just knew that there were things that I didn't want out of my life. And so I like right after high school, my high school girlfriend and I split up. It was actually a pretty rough situation. Won't get into all the details because it's stupid and it sucks. But so I spent a year kind of like just exploring who I was. And for me, like, as I've gotten older, I'm starting to realize a lot more about high school, but I was very insecure and I thought that nobody liked me, and I just felt like I didn't really fit in anywhere, and I wasn't really a part of, well, I mean, I was kind of part of groups, but I didn't really feel like I fit in with anybody. And so I was really insecure about myself in high school. And so after high school, after me and my girlfriend broke up, I spent quite a bit of time like trying to figure out who I was, what I actually wanted out of life, like all of those things. And so I started doing things over that few months after high school that were completely outside of normal for me. Like in high school, I hung out with all the skate punk kids. I listened to punk rock music and ska music. And after high school, I started hanging out with some guys that I was working with, and we would go clubbing. And that was something that I never would have dreamed of before. But we would go out dancing. We listened to rap music all the time. It was just a completely new world for me. Mm-hmm. And so when I took that year off, I worked at a little fast food chain here in town. And so I was just trying to figure out who I was. I ended up taking that entire year, trying to figure things out, decided I wanted to go to school, ended up at Snow, and because that's where my sister went. And yeah, anyway, we won't get into all those details, but I ended up at Snow, and I actually was dating a girl at home at the time that I moved to Snow. And so I kind of had a girlfriend when I met Emily. And so I still was kind of in this phase of trying to figure out who I really was. And I was still very, like, incredibly insecure with myself. And so I overcompensated big time. And so the first time we met, and I remember the one thing that she told me is I walked into her apartment, and she had her apartment was the middle floor of the complex, and she had a balcony. It was on the end unit, and it looked out to the west. Mm-hmm. And so when I walked in, it was late in the afternoon. The sun was kind of starting to set, and she said when I walked in, the sun was shining behind me, and it like kind of outlined me. And so I always tease her that when we first met, I was glowing. Yeah. And it was this sign that...
Right.
But anyway, so she didn't like me. She thought I was arrogant. She thought I was cocky. She actually says that she pegged me as the guy who was just barely out of high school and was like the popular kid in high school. And complete opposite of what she thought. And so she apparently that first time she met, she actually tried to talk to me, and I didn't hear her. So I went over there because I was kind of interested in one of her roommates, and we were creating the snowboarding club at Snow College. And so she was the president, I was the vice president of the snowboarding club. And so I was there to see her. And so I was interacting with all of her roommates and talking to everybody. And she was kind of sitting over on the other side of the room. And apparently she asked me a question and I didn't hear her. And so that furthered her impression that I was stuck up and arrogant and wanted nothing to do with her. Now, keep in mind, I wore baggy clothes, painted my fingernails. I had long shaggy hair, kind of a punk. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's who I was back then. And she, on the other hand, was the type of girl who would wear blazers to school and like Peter Pan collars, and very opposite ends of the spectrum as far as style goes, and musically complete opposites. Like everything that we did, basically, we were complete opposites. Mm-hmm. And so didn't really think anything was going to go with it, and ended up, fast forward. So I had a Japanese exchange student in my apartment. Mm-hmm. So my apartment, we had individual rooms, so we had our own private bedrooms. But one of my roommates was a Japanese foreign exchange student. And so she came over one night and she knocked on the door and she was talking to him. And I happened to be there because we hung out all the time. And she mentioned that she had a Japanese girl in one of her classes. Mm-hmm. And she was kind of shy and didn't really know anybody. And so she said, would you be okay if I introduced you to and like set you up to talk or whatever? And I was like, hey, Yasu was his name. He's a really cool dude. I said, why don't you guys, to make it more comfortable for everybody, I said, you come over with her. Mm-hmm. We'll cook dinner. We'll watch a movie. We'll hang out, the four of us, so that it's not like this little date for these two.
Right.
And so the night came that that was supposed to happen. And she came over with her roommate that I had been interested in and was no longer interested in because reasons that we won't get into. So she came over with her roommate, and we ended up, she didn't bring the Japanese girl over. And so it ended up being just the three of us hanging out, me and her roommate. And we ended up in my bedroom, and we were all just laying on my bed talking, and her roommate ended up falling asleep at like 2:00 in the morning. And so we're all laying on my bed. Her roommate falls asleep. And so it's just me and her. And we talked for hours. And we ended up somehow, like, we talked about our childhood. We talked about our past. We talked about our families. I found out that night that her dad has a 64 Corvette. And I was like, I'm hooked. And
will you marry me?
Yeah, pretty much. And so after her roommate fell asleep, it was just like all gates were down. I mean, it's 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Like, you're pretty vulnerable at that time. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up getting on the subject of movies, and we found out that we both really liked Dumb and Dumber. And so 6 o'clock in the morning, we'd been talking for hours, and I was like, we should watch it. And so we got up and we left her roommate asleep in my bed, and we went out on the couch and we watched Dumb and Dumber. And I mean, there was a couple of days there where I was like, I didn't know if she really wanted to hang out with me anymore. And so it took a few days to kind of get the ball rolling again. But after that, pretty much, we have not been apart.
Yeah.
And that was over 20 years ago. Well, yeah. That was almost 20 years ago, not quite 20 years. So,
gosh, you had to one-up me in the length of time it took you to tell your story, and in the length of time that you guys have been together.
It's funny because you were like, I'm rambling, and then here I am going on and on and on. But yeah, it was. So yeah, that was kind of it. It evolved very quickly from the point that we actually started hanging out. But
common theme though is for both of us. It was getting to know the other person, right? Like that. I think that's really important with romantic love. There has to be this level of getting to know them, enjoying being around them because of their personality, not just because of their looks.
Yeah.
And I think that if a relationship starts, a romantic relationship starts for physical reasons, it's not going to go well usually.
Right.
I mean, you might be able to develop the personality side, like the, social, mental, emotional aspect of it. But basing a relationship off of the physical is usually not. It usually does not work well.
Yeah, exactly. And I like what you said in the beginning where you have to be attracted to the person to want to get to know them. So there has to be some sense of physical attraction in order for you to want to get to know them.
Yeah.
But then you have to take the time. You have to invest emotionally into getting to know that person in order to develop the feelings of love. And I think that love is a broad spectrum of feelings, actions, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And it can start out, I mean, like, I would say that after that point, or even before that point, that I loved Emily. Mm-hmm. But it took, I mean, I would say that now, after 20 years of being together, that I love her more today than I ever imagined I could have back then.
Yeah.
But that's because of the experiences that we've had, the trials that we've had to see each other through, and having to support each other emotionally and physically and all of those things. So I think love is, like I said, it's complicated.
Yeah.
It starts out as attraction, and then it develops, and over time and investment, you end up with this thing that you have no idea how to explain it, or how it came to be, or that it could be what it is.
Yeah. And I think the key to getting to the point where we both are, over 15 years of being together and still in love. Mm-hmm. That made it sound like weird. Anyway,
we've only been together 4 years.
Yeah. Anyway, the key to getting to this point is to keep doing the same things you did that got you there in the first place. Mm-hmm. So that's what, our last episode or next episode, depending on which one we decide to release.
We're not sure yet.
Is going on dates, doing things together that allow you to have those deep conversations still, spending that time together. It takes effort to maintain that. Love is work also, right?
Yeah. And I think I loved what you just said about doing the things that you did that helped you develop those feelings to begin with. So it's funny, in the year that we were together before we got married, we didn't really go on dates, like conventional dates. Mm-hmm. We spent a lot of time, me cooking dinner for her. Like, we would get a group of us, we had a big group of friends down at Snow, and we would get a big group of friends together, and the guys would cook dinner for the girls, but it was always like the $1.25 stir fry from Walmart because that's all we could afford. We were starving college students. We spent a lot of time going up the canyon and having bonfires. We spent a lot of time like just hanging out, talking. Like we both kind of struggled with mental health issues. And so being able to help each other through those is the things that have brought us closer together. So we talk about dating, and I think dating can mean so many different things for different people.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think just doing the things that helped you develop those feelings is what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So I actually forgot to think about a weekly challenge to go along with this, but I think we can cook something up. So it's kind of similar to the dating episode. My challenge is to our challenge for Valentine's Day is to do something unique for Valentine's Day. Something that you've never done before. Now it could be like a unique date with a significant other, or it could just be an activity that you do with friends, or it could be something that you do yourself that you've never done before. So that's my, like, check off a bucket list item, or do a unique, plan a unique date for your significant other, or something like that. Do something unique that you've never done before.
Yeah.
For Valentine's Day.
That's
the challenge.
I think that's a great challenge.
Well, so last year, my wife and I planned the Valentine's date, and we played Pokemon Go. I've mentioned this a couple times now. So something like that. Do something you've never done before.
Cool. I like it. So I think that's the end for us today. So thank you, as always, for listening. And again, please leave the reviews. Follow us, like us, subscribe to our social media channels. Listen. We're actually improving now. We're getting kind of a backlog of episodes that we can release. So
that we can be weekly.
We're going to be a little bit more consistent on our Monday releases. And basically, if you're listening to us right now, you know where to find us.
Yep.
If you're not listening to us right now, then it doesn't really matter if I tell you where to find us. But we're on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Google, anywhere that you find Audible, YouTube, anywhere that you can find podcasts.
So if you're want to share this with someone, just let them know, search Balance Number 4 Life on whatever podcast app they use, and they'll find us.
Yep, because I've learned recently that not everybody uses Spotify.
Yeah.
Even though most of the people that I know listen to Spotify, I was sending out links to Dizzy, our latest single release, and I had a few people reply back and say, hey, do you have another link? Because I don't have Spotify. I was like, oh, interesting.
I don't use Spotify. Actually, I used to. Okay, let's finish the episode and then we'll. Anyway, so we have an episode coming up soon. Probably the next one after this, I think, is what it's going to be.
Probably.
That'll be about financial.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about different ways to achieve financial freedom.
Yeah.
Maybe some
build wealth, financial freedom.
Yeah, maybe some out of the box thinking ideas.
So join us then. It'll be a blast.
Yep.